In the year 2056, when climate change has wrought such havoc on the planet's air quality that it has all but rendered it uninhabitable, Rubicon takes place. The wealthy people reside in distinctive air domes that purify the filthy outdoor air. With large corporations taking the place of governments and states, the world has likewise turned into a capitalist nightmare. Also, these businesses utilize militaries to annex resources and areas. Despite their best efforts, humans have been unable to locate a home on any other planet. The last research space station is owned by just one company, the NIBRA, which is also attempting to use an algae system to address the Earth's environmental crisis. We follow Dr. Gavin Abbott, George Blagden, a chemist, and Officer Hannah Wagner, Julia Franz Richter, as they journey to Rubicon, the space station owned by NIBRA. Hannah has taken this perilous expedition into space so that her sister might be moved to the Central Air Dome, as revealed to us later in a video conference with her army sister Knopf, Hannah Rang. There are many crew members in the space station, including Danilo and Dr. Dmitry Krylov, Mark Ivanir, Konstantin Frolov. On the station, Dmitry and Danilo have been testing their algae system. The algae absorb carbon dioxide from people and convert it to oxygen and gelatinous food that contains all the nutrients. Gavin and Danilo get into a small argument as Dmitry welcomes Hannah and Gavin to the crew. Danilo makes fun of Gavin because he comes from a wealthy family that resides in an air dome. Later, all members of the crew save Hannah, Gavin, and Dmitry travel to Earth to bring some algae cultures for testing. Hannah thinks Dmitry and Danilo are using contaminated samples for testing because of their erratic conduct. Following the departure of the crew, Hannah gets a call from her bosses at NIBRA telling her that she needs to transfer Icarus, which will later be detailed in the story, as soon as possible. As they believe Dmitry is not giving the right samples, it is implied throughout the call that Hannah is come to take Dmitry's algae culture and bring it back to Earth. Hannah gets a message from other crew members who are traveling to Earth in a capsule before she can sneak into Dmitry's lab. No connection can be made by the team to Earth. Hannah decides to look into it and finds that a brown fog has engulfed the planet. Hannah and Dmitry soon hear the crew, including Dmitry's son Danilo, screaming in agony inside the capsule. After learning of his son's passing, Dmitry locks himself in his bedroom out of grief. Hannah receives a message from her sister informing her that due to the fog, every base camp on Earth is being evacuated. Following this unanticipated calamity, Gavin starts to look into the reason behind the fog. Gavin prepares to commit himself after realizing something terrible, but Hannah and Dmitry intervene in time to save him. Hannah confronts Dmitry about his studies as Gavin lies comatose. It is discovered that Dmitry sent the incorrect samples to Earth on purpose since he had already created a symbiotic algae system aboard the space station. Hannah claims that Dmitry betrayed NIBRA, who paid for all of his studies. Hannah is contradicted by Dmitry, who says that he and Danilo are the owners of the algae because they spent all of their time developing this system. Instead of selling out to the wealthy, they would prefer to keep the system for themselves. When Gavin awakens, he reveals that the very deadly brown fog that has engulfed Earth may have wiped out all life there. He also hypothesizes that a gigantic chain reaction occurred on Earth as a result of the fog reacting with other deadly gases produced by pollution. Even affluent people's air domes are not designed to purify this noxious air, meaning that the fog would have killed everyone inside of them, including Gavin's parents and friends. Gavin tries to kill himself out of desperation after learning that everyone has died. When the algal system is in operation, Hannah reassures Gavin that the three of them are secure aboard the space station. But Gavin finds it impossible to imagine staying in space indefinitely. Dmitry issues a warning that if Gavin attempts suicide once more, he will ultimately kill Hannah and him as well. This is due to the fact that the algae system needs at least 3 people's worth of carbon dioxide to convert it into oxygen. Gavin's death will prevent the algae from surviving, which will kill Hannah and Dmitry. Gavin, Hannah, and Dmitry get closer as a result of having no choice but to stay on the station. Hannah shares with Dmitry about her sister and asks if she will make it through the fog. She also experiences an existential awakening as she ponders whether all of her efforts and sacrifices have been worthwhile, especially in light of the fact that she has spent her whole life in space. Gavin and Hannah also start dating while doing the course. Dmitry admits to hiding his algae samples from NIBRA since they only wanted them for the domes of the wealthy, not for the average populace, during a game of cards. He acknowledges that NIBRA's generous offer of money first seduced him, but Danilo was adamantly opposed to selling out to the wealthy. A few weeks later, Hannah notices part of the algae turning brown. She informs Dmitry of her concern, and he starts looking into the changes. Soon after, several of the Earth survivors call Hannah and Gavin on an antiquated ISS radio system. Hannah receives a call from a lady named Esther who claims to be speaking on behalf of the 300 survivors who are sheltering in a safe bunker. Esther also notes that the bunker has a finite amount of resources and oxygen. Hannah is initially relieved to learn that not everyone on Earth has perished, but she suffers a setback when Esther explains that the only people still living within the bunker are the wealthy CEOs and their families. Esther and other CEOs are aware of the potential of Dimitri's technique because they had invested in his algae research stocks. Gavin asks Esther about his family, and she replies that they are not in the bunker, suggesting that they might not have survived the toxic fog. Gavin and Hannah decide to take the algae samples to Earth to aid the survivors after some deliberation, and they then suggest the idea to Dimitri. Dimitri is reluctant to travel to Earth with the spacecraft despite being aware of the survivors because he thinks the entire endeavor is too hazardous. Gavin and Dimitri argue, with the former being resolute about aiding the Earth survivors. Gavin reminds Dimitri a little of his own son, and he worries that, like Danilo, Gavin will give his life to serve others. Dimitri goes on to say that the wealthy businessmen should be left trapped on Earth because they would never have descended to aid the underprivileged like Hannah. Dimitri's lack of accountability irritates Gavin, who quickly returns to his room. Despite Dimitri's resistance, Hannah and Gavin resolve to bring the cultures to Earth because they feel it is their moral duty to aid the survivors. Later on, however, Dimitri explains that Hannah's urine, which has a higher concentration of the hormone HCG produced during pregnancy, is the cause of the algae turning brown. When Hannah learns she is expecting Gavin's child, she is horrified and starts to second-guess her decision to travel to Earth. Hannah questions if she should travel to Earth after realizing that she is pregnant because the radiation will probably kill her unborn child. Yet, she makes the decision that the lives of 300 people are more valuable than the life of her unborn child. Gavin and Hannah are shocked to find Dimitri getting ready to go on the assignment the following day, especially given his earlier reluctance to assist the wealthy. The group notices that the shuttle's cooling system is malfunctioning as they board the capsule. The three of them manage to return safely to the station before the capsule detonates into space. Hannah discovers that the cooling system was turned off 11 hours ago once they are inside. After the blast, which eliminated his last remaining means of returning to Earth, Gavin is devastated. Later, as Hannah is working out, Gavin approaches her and demands an explanation of Icarus, which he recently learned from Esther, the representative on Earth. Hannah discloses that Icarus, which required returning the complete algae lab to Earth, not simply samples, was her true mission for which she was dispatched to the space station. It is possible to eject the lab individually and fly it down. When Gavin learns this, he is startled and puzzled as to why she did not bring it up before. While it is possible to board with the lab, Hannah indicates that it is not actually a practical choice. Since the proposal might potentially affect the lives of 300 individuals, Gavin advises that they at least give it a shot. Hannah starts to consider Gavin's recommendations. Afterwards, she accuses Dimitri of turning off the air conditioning. The four of them might start a family here, according to Dimitri, who claims that he only did it to save them and Hannah's unborn child. There is no shame in taking responsibility for your own life, he continues. Dimitri goes on to say that Nibra undoubtedly knew about the poisonous fog but kept it a secret so that only the wealthy could access the bunkers and the supplies. Gavin and Hannah later communicate with Esther over the radio. Hannah insists that she speak with one of the troops who took the wealthy to the bunker safely. Esther says that the only people in the bunker are the CEOs and their families, meaning that the wealthy did not permit the soldiers inside since they had taken over every available space. She also arrogantly asserts that it is the military responsibility to protect the wealthy. Hannah is incensed by her callousness and starts to second-guess her choices to aid the wealthy. Gavin sympathizes with Hannah but urges them to assist them because it also involves the CEO's kids. Hannah declines, stating that she cannot put her own child at risk in order to assist the newborns of the wealthy. She continues to criticize Gavin for leading a privileged upbringing and claims that he will never understand what it is like to be impoverished. Gavin storms off in rage. Afterwards, Gavin imprisons Dimitri and seals the door so that Icarus can operate and bring the ship down. Gavin operates the device to bring Hannah inside, and she reluctantly decides to travel to Earth with him. However, just as the shuttle is about to take off, Hannah had a change of heart and disables the mechanism to halt the entire operation. Gavin learns that she does not want to leave the ship and that she cannot give up her child's life to save the obscenely wealthy. The decision she makes astounds Gavin. He resolves to commit suicide in order to leave just 2 individuals at the station after realizing that there is no other choice. Dimitri and Hannah would be forced to travel to Earth in order to assist the CEOs because the algae system cannot function with just 2 people. Hannah, who is distraught upon discovering Gavin's lifeless body, advises that she and Dimitri depart. In order to prevent Gavin from committing himself, Dimitri admits that he had lied about the algae system's necessity for 3 people. In reality, the system can survive with just 2 individuals. Hannah and Dimitri release Gavin's body into space as they weep. The movie skips ahead in time by several years after Gavin's passing. We learn that Hannah gave birth to a son who was given the name Knopf after her sister, and that the 3 of them are now content in Rubicon. As the movie comes to a close, Knopf gets a message from 2 Earth children who say they are speaking from the southern camps, implying that some survivors, possibly even Hannah's sister, may have managed to escape the fog alive. When the survivors search for more individuals, the kids inquire as to whether Knopf and his family are interested in traveling to Earth. The blue Earth is seen in the final image of the movie, which is no longer shrouded in the poisonous brown cloud. The movie concludes on a positive note for our protagonist and for humanity as a whole, with the fog gone and the chance of surviving on Earth. Do you enjoy this video? Subscribe, like and share for more videos.